Hi BookTube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Juan. I am just one reader and we are here for our weekly check-in video on The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. As part of our read-along hosted by me and by Sarah from Hardcover Hearts, and we are joined by many more people, and we are reading this, and so today we will be discussing a portion of the book which is packed with a lot of things, and since it's a portion of the book that has a lot of it packed into it, I think the best way that I can approach it is by being very selective of what I want to address, because there's no way I could address everything. So I'm just going to be very selective and just touch on certain things. So the first thing that I wanted to mention, and by the way, we are discussing pages 428 to 541, I think. So it's a small portion of the book. But anyway, I think the first really important thing that happens in this section is we begin a new chapter in the book, but we also begin a new chapter in Theo's life. And here, Donna Tartt does something that is really interesting and new in her storytelling in this novel. She starts playing with space and time. She's never done this before in this book, even though, well, the prologue of the book does kind of play with, flashback. But anyway, this is the first time that she is actually like playing with the time frame in the present narrative of Theo. So what she does is she begins this new chapter in the book, this new chapter in Theo's life, and she casually mentions that 8 years have passed. And so I feel like Donna Tartt is doing something really interesting there, because she is manipulating or playing with the storytelling, with the way that she decides to present this story to us. I felt the effect of that device to be a little bit jarring, because you are, as a reader, up to that point in the story, you already feel very connected to Theo. You already feel engaged, invested, and close to Theo after everything that he's been through. We've been with him. We've been through all of that together with him. And so suddenly to feel like there's a huge chunk of his life, 8 years of his life, that we have not been there for, that we have not been present for, that we have not witnessed, is very jarring. And I feel like that is deliberate to some extent. Then, of course, we learn that Theo has become pretty much a kind of... It's almost like he's become the heir to his father's tragedy, in a way. That sounded very poetic, but really what I mean is that it feels like Theo is fulfilling some kind of prophecy of starting to identify with his own father, which is something that he didn't want to, and we as readers, we didn't want that for him as well, but it's happening, it's happened, and I feel like there is something there to be said about inevitability, and not in a tragic sense necessarily, although I have to say this part of the book does feel like a tragedy, because we are witnessing our main character being corrupted and acting in a clearly immoral way, in a way that is deceiving, deceitful, and dishonest, and he's clearly become someone very similar to his father. But I feel like the sense of inevitability is a theme that is very present throughout the novel. as Theo comes back to New York and starts working there, he starts reconnecting with some of the parts of his previous life in New York, and we learn about the horrible, devastating death of both Andy and Mr. Barber. That hit me emotionally because I did not remember that happening. And the fact that Donna Tartt decided to kill this character, Andy, and his father, but mostly Andy, the way that she did is very symbolic, and it's very indicative of this recurrent theme of inevitability, of time as a circle, something like a cycle, rather like something that is inescapable from, you can't escape it. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why, that's one of the reasons why I love this book as much as I do, because it's very Freudian. And you know me, I am a very Freudian person. I am a psychoanalyst. So one of Freud's ideas was this sense of repetition, that basically what human beings do, which becomes pathological, is that we repeat everything. We repeat our conflicts from childhood, from our present life. If we do not solve them and work through them and work them out and elaborate them, we start repeating everything in cycles of repetition. And I feel like that is very present in The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. The sense of, it's like tragedy is a wave that you cannot escape, that you cannot run away from. So Theo comes back to New York and he reconnects with the Barbers, and then Boris comes up. So Boris is a character that I also think it's very interesting to discuss the evolution of Boris throughout the novel, but I think Theo is really, of course, because he's the main character, he is the most important. I feel like in this portion of the book, we are seeing a Theo that is, as I said before, corrupted or in the process of becoming corrupted. And in a way, this book feels pretty much like Star Wars, you know, like watching Anakin Skywalker, the supposed heir to, or the supposed chosen one, I guess, become corrupted by evil forces that he cannot really escape. Although maybe Anakin could have escaped from them. I'm not so sure. I don't really know Star Wars that well. But here, in the case of Theo, I do feel like there's a strong sense of inevitability, because it's like he didn't have a lot of options. He didn't have a lot of opportunities. He had a lot of tragedy in his life. His figures of identification were not optimal because, well, his mother was, but she died. And then his father was, of course, very corrupted in a way, or very damaged, or very sick. And then the Barbers were there, but not emotionally available. So it's like Theo's figures of identification were not the optimal ones. And then, well, you could say that maybe Boris is the only figure of identification that he has really felt close with and intimate with. But, well, because he hasn't had those kinds of experiences with figures of identification that are sufficient or efficient, I think it's very clear to the reader that Theo is going to go down a path that is not good. And in this chapter, we are seeing that begin to happen, or just happen. So that's what I wanted to say in this video. That's it. I wanted to mention inevitability, the sense of repetition, and again, the thing that Donna Tartt is doing here in terms of her craft, her plotting, and the way that she structures the novel is very interesting and very important, because she's starting to play with the perception of time and space. And this is very important because this is not a spoiler, but very, very close to this chapter. Very soon, something is going to happen that is going to feel exactly like we've been played, like we've been cheated. But it's not that we've been cheated. It's not that Donna Tartt is playing us. It's more like she's manipulating time and space and our perception of what has happened. So I feel like the opening of this chapter is a setup for that. That's it. That's all I'm going to say for today. Thanks for watching. Please leave your comments down below, and I will see you next week for the next video in the Goldfinch series.